What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Hometown Hustle, episode 3. Today we interview Mr. Dan Doyle of Nations Lending, located here in Grants Pass, Oregon. Dan is one of the region's top producing loan officers, but on top of that, he's an amazing family man, a well-rounded business person, and also a great friend.
Yes, and not to mention he's trying to get us drunk. So, but hey, Dan's mission in life is to have financial and emotional freedom to help others achieve their goals. Just really hope you guys enjoy this conversation with Dan. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, and no more moonshine for us.
No more moonshine for us. Maybe just a little bit more.
A little touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Hometown Hustle, a podcast showcasing small business owners and leaders who are making an impact here in the Rogue Valley. Come join us as we go one-on-one with some of the most inspiring people that call Southern Oregon their home. Now, here's your hosts, Daniel Buffano and Michael O'Coin.
Mr. Doyle, thank you for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And thank you for the gift.
Oh, you're welcome. I couldn't come empty-handed, so
No, of course
had to bring
not.
something.
So we got some moonshine here, so we're gonna have to bust this out here in a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Some seasonal apple pie.
Yes.
moonshine.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Might have to pour it over some vanilla ice cream,
Where'd you get
an
that at?
affogato.
So I got that at the little liquor store right off of G Street.
Are they local
Yeah.
brewery? Distillery?
So they actually have a place right behind Wild River, or not Wild River, Hellgate.
Oh,
Right behind
okay.
Hellgate. So they have a little place back there, and they
Is
have
that
a
that
tasting room and
Sundance
everything.
or
You got me.
I think so.
right?
Yeah,
Sundance
same.
or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a new distillery that just opened up downtown next to Climate City too, which is pretty cool.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think they do. They're starting with like vodka and stuff. It's called the Steam Distillery.
The Steam?
No,
No,
the
Steam.
Steam.
The Steam.
Yeah,
It's
Or just
steampunk.
Steam.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So steampunk, gears and masks and Mad
Craziness.
Max type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is the decor in there pretty cool? Does
Yeah.
it match?
I think
it?
so.
Right.
We haven't been there
Yeah.
yet. They opened on Monday, so
Yeah. Have you guys ever thought about actually taking this and doing like road shows and doing a podcast in a different
oh
location?
yeah. No,
to
we
be
got
able
a
to do
whole
that?
22
You got it?
schedule going.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
I don't
taking
wanna
on the
let the cat out of
road.
the bag.
Yeah,
yeah.
you see the bead of sweat rolling.
It's not from that massive light.
I need some more. I need some more equipment, I think. Yeah. Well, anyway, Dan, thank you again for being here. This is really cool. We send out these questionnaires, and I think they're mostly business related. Sometimes they're community related, but one of the questions we asked was like, "What's your favorite place to eat?"
Yep.
Right, and it's a whole mess of Mexican food, which is what
It's my favorite.
yeah.
I think I was born eating a taco.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Yeah, and that's why the picture in my phone is actually of a taco.
Oh,
It's
really?
not of
Oh,
your
that's
face.
hilarious.
Did you not
I
know
didn't
that?
know. That's
Your avatar.
fantastic. My avatar is a taco.
Yeah,
Taco.
it's just a taco.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you,
got the
Daniel.
beard and everything on it. Or is that cheese?
It's probably cheese.
Either way, it works
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Beard or cheese.
No, but I just think it's pretty funny because I think of you as just a super calculated dude, right? Everything is intentional.
Yep.
You have great clarity on everything that you do, which we'll get into today, of course, too. But it's just really funny because your answer to that question is, this is the hardest question on this questionnaire.
It was.
And then it's like, I don't know, maybe these 3 or 4 places, but they're all Mexican food. Well, except for
Well,
beef steak.
Gitanos. I mean, technically it's South American, right? It's
Yeah.
not quite, but
All right, Latin food.
Latin food.
You
yeah.
can still find tacos there.
That is true. Yep.
Yeah.
Everything else was a lot easier to answer for you guys than that one question.
Yeah.
So,
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't think you probably didn't get a chance to, because you 2016, right? That you came to Grants Pass.
to Grants Pass, yeah,
Right.
2016.
So there was a little place on the railroad tracks behind Home Depot, or before there was a Home Depot that was like a hole in the wall, 4 bar seats, mamacita cooking flour.
Wow.
I mean, like
The
just
real
It was the
deal.
real deal. That was like the best. And when she passed, they moved it to across from Wells Fargo, that little strip mall in there.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yep.
Midtown Mall or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? They moved it in there. The kids tried to take it over, just did not work out.
Didn't
but
work.
man,
But it
that
was
was
the
like the best
Oh, yeah.
Mexican food
As soon
I've
as
ever
you
had.
see somebody making homemade tortillas, like,
Oh yeah,
it's the
it was
spot.
total
Like,
hole in
that's
the
where you need to
wall.
go.
Like how they got a health permit, I have no idea. But
Doesn't matter.
walls were caving
That's what
in.
tequila's for.
I don't even think there was a
Don't
lock
worry
on the
about
door.
Yeah. Don't worry about the health permit.
Yeah.
It'll do good.
So speaking of 2016, you moved up here.
Yeah. Yep. To Grants Pass.
You came from San Diego.
Yep.
Talk about that transition and why you came up and all that.
So I actually wound up moving to Medford first, and then Medford to Grants Pass. So I originally, in 2007, kind of did a trek around Oregon. Wanted to see exactly. I knew I wanted to move to Oregon, but where in Oregon was kind of the up in the air for me and my family. So I literally flew into Portland, rented a car, and I drove from Redmond to Bend to Klamath Falls to Medford to Grants Pass, Eugene, and kind of did the whole loop. And really wanted to be in either Bend or in Medford. And wound up actually moving to right off of Lone Pine where I wanted to move, but it took 3 years for us to get us there. Yeah. So I kept talking with my wife, wanted to move. She wasn't really in a position or wanting to do it at that time. So we actually went to Sun River for a week. And I said, hey, while we're here, just throw out a couple applications, see what happens. She wound up getting a job before any of us moved up here 30 days later. And then I followed with the family afterwards. Yeah. So kind of a crazy journey for us.
That's a trip.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's kind of similar to my story.
I was just going to say that it almost sounds like you. Oops, I got a job. I guess we're moving.
What do I do?
Yeah. Well, my wife and I got in a huge fight before we moved up here. I just wanted to just move up here and not apply for jobs or do anything like that. And we got in this huge fight, and I applied for one job on Craigslist, and it was a personal training job at Club Northwest, and it just so happened that same week. Well, he called me the next day after I applied, and then it just so happened that week we were driving up here, so I stopped in for an interview, ended up getting the job on the spot, and we moved here like a month later.
Yeah. Knowing Shannon these years later, you moving without a job, I couldn't even imagine her trying to rationalize or put her head around that. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
Yep.
We were different people back then too. So no kids.
I think we all were.
Yeah, for sure.
Back then, for sure.
Me, I was just came up to visit mom and dad. 18 months later, my mom told me I should go find a job.
18 months.
18 months. Nice.
Yeah.
It's almost 2 years later. She goes, you probably go find a job. I'm like, okay, I'll look for one.
I didn't get that opportunity.
Yeah. I was young.
Pretty funny. Yeah. It's interesting. A lot of the people here are California transplants, and there's not a lot of local people that were born and raised
Reno.
Here.
Okay. No California transplant.
Oh, you're from Reno? Is that your claim to fame?
Well, I'm actually, Reno, Guam.
Via California.
Yeah.
Though. Right. Wasn't there a little stint there?
Well, there was a little bit. Yeah. We had some family in California.
Transplants nonetheless.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. Yeah. However, once I grew the beard, then I just automatically knew that it was home for me. So August 31st, 2010, never looked back. It was...
I can't imagine you without a beard.
It's probably white. You wouldn't want to imagine without a beard.
Yeah, that's a trip.
Yep.
And how do you like it since you've been here?
Like I said, never look back. I love it. I was born for Oregon, so literally it's the middle of winter. I'm in shorts and my Romeos and maybe a hoodie, and I love the cold. I love the outdoors. Last weekend, as I was jetting by your place, heading up to Granite Hill to go do some off-roading in the snow. Yeah. That's my jam. That's my happy spot. If I'm not with my family, I want to be out in the woods. Yeah. So
how about Rochelle and your kids?
The kids like it. Yeah, Rochelle every once in a while. Did you see my? Yeah,
I saw the deflection.
Yeah, went downhill there. The kids like it. Rochelle every once in a while, she definitely, she's a sunshine and beach girl. So every once in a while, she just gets that hankering, and I'm like, go rent a car and drive down to California. Yeah, I don't fight it. I don't do anything. I'm just enjoy yourself. Go get some sunshine. Yeah. So every once in a while, she needs to do that. Gets her fix. Gets sick of people. And then comes back home, right? So it's easy. It's great. So I don't fight it. Just let it happen. Yeah. Yeah.
While we're on the topic of Rochelle, she's the person who inspires you the most.
Yeah. So she, Rochelle definitely is, as a wife and as a soulmate, which, a lot of men don't get to say that, but I truly have my soulmate. She has never once not, inspired me to do something. Like if I've had a passion or if I wanted to do something, a lot of guys, their wife is their holdback, or there's something like that just kind of runs a interference on them doing their next thing. My wife has said, if you think it's a good idea, do it every single time. And that's part of the reason that we've had the success as a family that we've had, is because I've kind of had unbridled control when it came to the things that we needed to do and execute on. And Knock on wood. We haven't had any disasters yet, so
Don't
she's
knock on
still
this, because this is Amazon
not
special.
Ah, dang.
This might be plastic.
This might break, right? So every time I brought something up, and she's just been passionate. So in our current home that we live in, she was in New York visiting her family, and I called her up and I was like, "All right, dear, I bought a golf course." She's like, "You did what?"
We got to get into the story too. On that too. Yeah.
I was like, I bought a golf course, and hey, we're gonna flip it. We're gonna do whatever. She's like, "Whatever you think works." That was literally my conversation with my wife. No after questions. No like, "What the hell are you thinking?" Nothing. That was it.
Yeah, she's a writer.
Have a good night, dear.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it an eye roll? You think there was an eye roll in there, or like a
no? Because we've been married so long, it was like.
Didn't even flinch.
Didn't even flinch. Yeah, she's like, this is going to be, this is going to be a crap show, at some point. But as of right now, they've all turned out good. So
yeah, but you probably earned that trust over that time.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have spent a lot of time together in the last 6.5, almost 7 years. And you're just a smart dude when it comes to finances and making, choice decisions and stuff. And I want you to get into and get into how you bought your house, because I think it's a really cool story. I tell it to clients all the time because I think it's just really neat how you did it. But just going back to Rochelle, you earned that trust, you know,
right.
And I'm sure in the very beginning, if you told her that you bought a golf course, she'd probably wring your neck, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So it's emotional deposits and emotional withdrawals, as we talk about all the time, that, if I didn't prove myself previously on the smaller things, then at some point, if I was irresponsible with finances, or I wasn't paying the bills, or, all of a sudden things like that weren't happening, then she's probably not going to trust me to do things that I need to do. But just as time, and also when you get married, and you're married for 22 some odd years, that's a lot of time to build that trust. And so, just trial and error.
Yeah. I'm going to get back to your emotional withdrawals. I think that's just a really cool thing that I've never heard of before until you and I had talked, but just tell us the story about how you got into your house first.
So a good friend of ours gave me a call and said, "Hey, I have a deal that's falling apart. There's somebody that was buying this old golf course, a 9-hole little executive golf course, and they want to subdivide it, and it's falling apart because they don't want to spend the extra money to buy the last little lot or parcel that was part of the entire transaction." And he's like, "Do you want to come in and buy it?" And I was like, "Well, let's go look at it and let's see what it is." So literally, I was able to get in and buy a couple acres and this old clubhouse of a golf course for $168,000.
Which is almost 5,000 square feet, right?
Yeah, it's just shy of 5,000 square feet, and nobody could see the vision in the thing. And so we wound up just really gutting the interior of it, starting over, and then turning it into a single family residence, which costs a lot more than the $168,000 I originally put into it.
Yeah.
But that was the starting point, is literally to make this transaction whole and go through. That's all I had to put into to buy this thing and make it what we wanted. I subsequently then bought more acreage and everything around it that was available. So it's now become bigger and what we originally wanted. But without that first push, never would have happened. Yeah. I originally bought it as a flip. Right. So we weren't even going to live there.
Yeah. And then you started living there.
Then nights and weekends and "Hey, dear, what if we moved here?" And so, my wife was smart. She lived in our house in Medford while I was actually doing the remodeling and renovation.
So she was a genius. To her. She got you up here while you were still living in San Diego.
Definitely.
And then you moved into your house while she was still living in Medford.
So me and the 3 kids lived in a 27-foot trailer that we borrowed from my in-laws while we were doing the remodel and renovation on the house.
Yeah.
So they could get into the school district. Yeah, it was crazy times. I don't think I slept for 5 months straight.
Yeah.
Legitly. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. I remember walking through that house when you first got it. I was like, oh my God, dude.
I remember when it was still a golf course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
it was a cool place.
Yeah. Anyway.
Exciting times.
Yeah. So get into your emotional withdrawals and emotional deposits thing. That's an interesting topic concept that we've talked about is you can't make withdrawals all the time. You have to do probably more deposits than you'd have to do withdrawals, right?
Yeah, most certainly, because a lot of people don't understand that you're actually making deposits with them in some capacity. And so you probably need to do a 2-for-1 in my personal opinion. So to expand on that a little bit, I think everybody has, social currency, right? So I have a relationship with you that we have some sort of social currency together. And when you're talking to somebody that you don't really know before, if you go and you make a withdrawal or, from that individual, think of it like an ATM. If you didn't put any money into the bank, you're not going to walk to an ATM and then all of a sudden be able to extract money from that. You have to put the funds into that account before you can do that. And people think that may sound very transactional when I say that, but it's not, because I'm really talking about emotional deposits, right? So even expecting something or a symbiotic relationship from somebody, you can't just go up and then expect them to want to be your friend or want to communicate with you or want to, anything on that without even asking them for help or anything. You need to go in there at first and be encouraging to them or be their friend and do the things that you would want somebody to do for you. I feel like you need to do that first.
And you show them a little bit of value.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And it goes the same thing in our business or clientele. I mean, just not people to people building a friendship. It's just, you always got to show them value. I mean,
definitely. When it comes to business, it's really tough because people then start feeling like numbers or paychecks instead of actually people.
Yeah.
And so it developed in the business world and then translates very easily to the friendship world.
Exactly.
Yeah, because when you're in the business side of it, if you just say, hey, I'm going to call you every Friday with a check-in, to see how you're doing, and it feels very mechanical, it's going to feel very mechanical to your clients. And so it's really important that you don't just do that. You make those other deposits throughout the time to where if you need to make a withdrawal, you have plenty of saving in that account. Yeah. That's really important.
That's every relationship, not just your clients, you know, just and in real estate, we do that with our escrow officers and our mortgage lenders. I mean, we just, we just don't like storm into people's offices all the time and be like,
demand something.
And we need this. And it's just like, what have you done?
Yeah.
So we just make sure that we're grateful and we say thank you and we, take care of them when they've taken care of us.
Right.
And be patient and respectful.
Yeah.
So
in today's society, we have this very egocentric type mentality, and it's not that somebody is selfish or anything. It's just, as children, we're designed that the world revolves around our needs and what we need. And people don't develop over time that we are very tribal individuals, and we need villages to raise us. People just look at the world as how it benefits them, what it does for them, how they can get out of something, when they're dealing with other people. And I just think it's very sad that we don't have more of this, hey, giving, the giving mentality before we expect anything in this world. It's just it's staggering sometimes and unfortunate, but that's some of the culture that we live in.
Yeah, I think Daniel's heard me say before, it's a Teddy Roosevelt quote, and I learned it back in sales training years ago, but, people don't care what you know, they only want to know that you care.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah.
Yep. Just, show me, you don't need to be talking over them and, giving them, demanding things, just show them that you care. Just show them that you have some interest in, that deposit.
Yeah, real interest.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the quantify, People can see when you don't have real interest, you have to have real interest, and you have to want to make real deposits, not very superficial things. So I think that's really important.
Like, here's a cookie, do this for me.
5 years and younger, that may work, right?
Yeah. For sure.
6 years and older, you need more than a cookie.
Yeah.
So,
go pee-pee and I'll give you this cookie. Yeah, that's my house every day.
That's funny. I got a 3-year-old going on 14, so.
I don't get a cookie for going to pee-pee. What the heck, Daniel? Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that whole 5 years old thing. Sorry.
Yeah, well, 3. Yeah, again, Michael and I have 3-year-olds, and and I have a 1.5-year-old too. He's the one who's trying to teach him how to go to the bathroom on his own.
I do have to say there's pros and cons to having children as young as Rochelle and I had, but one of the pros is, at this 41 years old,
they're on their own.
Yeah, at this point, they can all feed themselves. They can all, use the restroom on their own, and so for the most part. But it's kind of nice. It's interesting looking backward. You caught that, Michael. Thank you. It's kind of interesting being in this phase of life, and just kind of looking back and saying, some days, I wish, I had that, but other days, man, I'm excited for what's ahead.
Yeah. You have Ethan's 20, right?
Yeah, Ethan's 20, Carter's 17, and Emerson is 12.
Yeah, so, you have great kids too. I love your kids.
Thank you.
Yeah. we got the opportunity to spend more time with Ethan on a personal setting at the dunes.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yep.
So
good kid.
Yeah.
All my kids are great.
Anyway, we should probably get into
Real stuff?
some business talk too.
I don't know. I thought this was real stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean-
no, this is real stuff. Yeah.
You know,
Well, let's. You talked about Rochelle being an inspiration to you. One of the things that I've been very fortunate with when I moved here is I had a mentor in my business, and I think you had the same as well. Can you talk about your mentor and kind of how he helped you get started with?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as my teens and my world, my father passed away when I was 12 years old, which definitely shaped who I was moving forward in my life. I was very fortunate to actually have an uncle that was a very smart businessman as well, who kind of took me under my wing. And so I was doing miserable in school, right? And I wasn't doing the things and I wasn't understanding kind of how life was going to come together. My mom was going through a lot of difficult times during that point, and really, not anything against her, but, I really didn't have parents for quite some time. I was kind of kicking everything around myself, or like if I wanted to go get a job or wanted to do stuff, I started doing stuff at very young ages because that's what everybody wants to do. But the parents are there to help save them from themselves. Nobody was there to do that. And my Uncle Tom kind of came in and he started working with me about, Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the difference, right? And he called it, nice.
Yeah.
So he called it Windshield University, right? So, if you're behind a windshield of a car, you better be learning something, right? And so that's what he did. And he was a salesman as well. And he incentivized me to get through high school, right? And learn about money and do all that. During my early 20s, I kind of got away from some of that, just for my own side of it, wanted to rebel, wanted to do whatever. But as I started, my kids started getting older and I realized that I actually needed to be wise and do things. All those little seeds that he planted in my brain, 15, 16, 17 years old, started to really make sense and come to fruition. And so even until this day, if I have a big decision, I call him.
Yeah.
I send him a text. I'm like, hey, do you have time, next Tuesday or whatever to chat?
Yeah.
Still to this day. And he's very, it's fun. I've learned from him. Don't let people write your story or don't write other people's story. Let them write it for themselves. Yeah. It's funny. He's never truly answered something all the way to its end and given me the decision. He always just leaves me food for thought.
That's why you do that to me.
That's why I do that.
Dan, what should I do? Well, what do you think you should do?
Right, yeah. Or, here's everything. Let's look at it on a rational level and then go back, and your subconscious is going to take over to be able to get that really figured out for you. So he taught me to do that, and it's amazing. Whenever I hit a financial milestone or a benchmark, it's funny. He's the first person I'll share it with.
Yeah.
Still to this day. So.
Now, did he get you into mortgage?
No, he didn't. That was a bastard friend of mine at 20-something years old. No, just kidding. I love what I do.
I know you do.
I absolutely love. But
yeah.
back then, a buddy of mine, and this is when, Michael, a little bit, you could make a lot of money in mortgages in the early 2000s. And when I say a lot of money, I mean a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I saw it from kind of the sidelines, saw everything their family had and where they were at, and they offered me the opportunity to jump in and become an account executive back then. And so, no, that was a buddy of mine, and I still razz him about it when I talk to him to this day.
Yeah. But I mean, it's been for the good.
It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I really couldn't see myself doing anything different.
Yeah. And I don't even know this. What did you do immediately before you were in mortgages?
So when I was really young, first married, I actually was working with a general contractor, had some big projects. And so that's where I got my contracting kind of knowledge and information on, housing and stuff. And then oddly enough, I wound up running a large convenience store in Menifee, California that had 53 employees. And so I was 19 or 20 years old, literally running an entire gas station, car wash, everything. And ran that for a while before I got into the financial side of it.
Strange.
Mm-hmm. Very strange.
Interesting.
Yep.
Convenience store.
Well, so in California, they're called C stores or convenience stores. But I mean, to have 53 employees, you have to understand how big this is.
Oh, yeah,
like this is 30 gas pumps, a lube shop, a car wash, a cafe, an actual. So it's kind of like a pilot
truck
on
stop.
steroids.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a pilot on steroids.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And then through, that, just a couple other changes of jobs until I wound up working for Dollar Mortgage, which was the first mortgage company I worked for way back in the day. And we did 125% second loan to value mortgages. So if somebody had 100% loan to value, if you had a 740 credit score or higher, we would do 25% above the value of your home.
Oh, yeah.
You know a little thing or two about that.
Oh, man. I've seen some stuff.
It was, and that they actually got bought out by GMAC back in the day.
GMAC.
So, GMAC bought them out.
GMAC and Greenpoint, boy, they do some stuff that was like just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely this side of legal.
Yeah.
I had no part in those.
Yeah, you're just an account executive.
Yeah, I was just an account executive.
I remember doing loans on GMAC, and we'd, if they had a good enough credit score and they were buying the house and didn't have a Zillow estimate back then, but if they could determine by assessed value what the value was, as long as you could pull the home up on Yahoo Maps,
right? I remember
because that was
right.
It was a done deal.
Yeah,
you didn't have. It wasn't even a drive-by.
Yeah, because it confirmed that the property at
existed.
some point was there. Right?
Yeah, exactly. That was
definitely.
it. And I went from loan submission to docs in 24 hours and funded.
Wow.
Okay, house was. We'll finish up, right? House was on the coast. It was going to be a flip. The guy had great credit score. He had money. This was not a situation where we were putting him in a bad situation. This guy literally had the cash to pay for it if he needed to. But, anyways, there was no second balcony. So the sliding all the doors on the back half of the building just opened up to nowhere.
Wow.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, so unlendable, had no HVAC system in it. I mean, the list went on and stuff. It had been all the wire, all the copper had been stripped out of the house. I mean, it was in bad shape.
Wow.
But he was also buying it for I think it was like $100,000 and assessed value was like $350 or something like that. But it was just crazy that we submitted it. We got the approval. Oh yeah, just send us a printout of Yahoo Maps. Show us that the address exists. The automated approval will have doxed in the morning to title.
Wow. Some part of me wishes that things were that easy still, because we are a long way from that. But in some capacity, I'm kind of glad that we're not there anymore.
Oh man, yeah. There's some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Bananas.
Yep, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
When you had mentioned removing wires, or the wires were pulled out of the property, and you talk about deposits with Rochelle, my wife, and everything. So when we were 19, we bought our first house, and it literally was a gutted home that they had taken the wire out of the walls so they could sell the copper. Right in it.
Yeah.
We lived in the garage while we renovated that first home with mice and everything running through the garage. Oh, shit. So, yes, I have emotional deposits into Rochelle, but she's also lived with me through some crazy stuff to get to the point to buy, a golf course. So I just remember that when you were mentioning the wires.
That's crazy.
Yep.
All right. Well, you've talked about a little bit about obviously you're in the mortgage industry.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your team and kind of where you're at right now.
So as far as the company I'm with, it's called Nations Lending. So just recently made the switch over to there from a company called Caliber that I'd been for 3 years, a little over 3 years. So currently at my team with me at Nations, I have James, who is my junior production or my junior loan officer. And then I have Carlos and Erica. That are my production assistants, and they kind of help me with the loans once I get them in the door and getting them moving forward. So,
roughly, how many transactions do you guys do a year?
So this year, I think we'll wind up at about a little over 260 transactions for this year. So that's pretty decent number.
Yeah.
And the majority of those in Southern Oregon, or
almost all
in Southern Oregon, but you still do some stuff here and there.
Yeah, I still do some stuff, definitely in California, but more cash out and more refinances. I don't do as many purchases. Probably, down in when I first moved here, that was predominantly all my business was actually California. And over the years, it's kind of gotten less and less as businesses picked up here. So I'd probably say I do maybe 2 or 3 a quarter now. Up until 2 years ago, it was actually about 15% of my business model. So just really the amount of time and attention that it takes with real estate agents and with buyers these days to be able to have that long distance communication becomes very difficult. I think people want to be able to know that somebody's here local. So it's just been a natural progression for me to do more and more business here.
Yeah. Well, you've done a ton, and my experience with you has always just been every time that I have a question, you always have an answer for it, or I can't even recall one time I've called you and you don't have an answer for it.
It's because I'm bluffing.
Bluffing? Yeah, I don't think so. But I've had, run into trouble with other lenders and real estate stuff, or when I have real estate questions, I can't get a hold of these guys, or maybe they don't know how to phrase it properly where I can understand it. But every time I've called you, it's you have an answer for me, or you can kind of phrase it in a way that I understand it, because we all know that I'm kind of a little bit of a pea brain, but sometimes, at least with
you're
that
multitasking.
Kind of multitasking.
You're multitasking. You just need it broken down.
Yeah, but I think you talk about like one of the things that separates you and your business is knowledge and empathy. That knowledge part is like clear as day to me, and I know that you feel pain when your clients feel pain. Yeah. But just elaborate a little bit more on that and like why you think that separates you from other people.
My business, yeah. So I think you have to be passionate in whatever you're doing, right? Whether it's the podcast for you guys, or whether it's your real estate careers, or for me, it's lending. So for me to be passionate about it, I have to be knowledgeable about it, right? And so when I first came here from California, and I started becoming a lender and trying to get relationships with other individuals, I realized that there was actually a really big knowledge gap from loan officers that currently were here in the Valley, and nothing against, anybody, that's just what they were able to get away with. So for me to be able to gain the market share that I needed to, I knew that I had to become the knowledge base for lending in my area.
Right.
And so what that allowed me, or what that caused me to do, is to always be one step ahead and knowing the information, knowing the guidelines that were coming out. And not only that, to get the deal from, the next competitor, I had to be able to know more about the loopholes, right? It's not about knowing the guidelines. It's knowing how to avoid the guidelines to get what you need done. And so without knowledge, you don't know where to be looking for those loopholes. And so it caused me to do that. Going back to when I was an account executive, I actually had a 3-ring binder with all of my loan programs in paper that I would literally walk around, and it was my mortgage Bible. And I literally every Monday, or, every other week, I would be switching out those guidelines and loan programs, and I would be reading them. I was, other than underwriters, who are the people that approve or decline a loan, I was the only loan officer that I knew that did that. And so the knowledge became huge.
Yeah.
In the base.
Yeah, knowing what the underwriters are thinking. As a loan originator or loan officer, account executive, you're trying to put a deal together where your underwriters doing risk assessment, right? So they're trying to mitigate risk for the bank. So they're trying to find a way to kill it. So if you can present it to them in a light that there's no checks or balances, and they can just go, oh yeah, this is
right.
All makes sense. He already covered this underwriting guideline and this guideline. So knowing that underwriting background and stuff like that, and memorizing those guidelines is a huge advantage. And I can quite frankly say a lot of mortgage brokers don't go to that extent.
Right. Definitely. Yeah. I submitted a transaction 3 weeks ago that actually had like 7 letters of explanations in it. So literally every time I saw something that made me kind of perk up and say, okay, well, we may potentially have an issue here, I had a letter of explanation ready to go.
Yeah,
so literally as that underwriter was reading through the file and go, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Oh, this makes sense, right? Oh, wait, here's another, this makes sense, right? So I'm literally trying to kill those off one by one.
Because you don't want them to ask for an LOE.
No,
because they open up a whole can of worms, man.
Right. Yeah, it becomes its own issue.
Yeah.
And to your point, Daniel, in regards to the knowledge component of it, that's we all want to be valuable for something, right? We all want to be known for something, and so I tell everybody that if they have a question, whether it's my transaction or not, like I need to be that source for them to be able to solve their problem and be able to help and make it easier. So. That's the knowledge side of it. For the empathy side of it, it's challenging. You know, you can probably read it on my face that, you know, it's challenging to be empathetic towards clients, not to be empathetic towards them, but it takes a toll on me to be as empathetic towards their plight. And so, but I think that's what keeps me caring and going back for more and fighting for another one. I probably piss a lot of people off in my company because I'm always going to go back.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to leave it where it is. If my client, if I feel like it's justified, I'm going for broke.
Yeah.
And again, that's probably not a good thing to have in the corporate world, but I'm doing the right thing for my client, and that's what matters to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you know, being a mortgage broker and one of the things I love puzzles. And it's like taking somebody in that may have poor credit or no money down at the time, or may not fit into a program, and working with them over a course of a month or 2 months, or I've had 2 years.
Yep.
You know, where, you know, your file is 2 folders thick, and you're working on their credit and you're rebuilding, and you're spending that time to help them get through that process. I think that's a lot of the caring part of it. And it was a cool part of the job that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
We just find them homes and send them to you.
Yeah. That's not true.
Well, there's a lot more on that, but I don't even mind that side of it, because I do. I like going on that journey with individuals.
Yeah. Plus, you're a self-proclaimed mortgage nerd.
I am a mortgage nerd.
I love that. Yeah. Not because you love the mortgage business, but you literally loved like how the mortgages
come together and how they work. And I mean, they're fascinating. And I know that sounds so crazy, but if you talk to somebody that's really into, you know, the stars, right, or constellations or anything, as somebody can get passionate about that, like how a loan comes together and what it does, like it just excites me.
Yeah. What do they say? The average number of people that touches a real estate transaction?
It's like 30 something.
Yeah, just wild,
right.
You know,
Yep.
like the people that we deal with is like escrow officer,
right,
lender, and, you know, us, you know, but there's
processors, underwriters, junior processors, right?
Doc drawers,
funders,
the funders,
closers.
And then all the people on the escrow side, you know, it's just
title
wild.
officers. It's a very complicated thing that I think, unfortunately, because of the Amazon environment that we're in, people want it to be less complicated, and there's companies out there that are trying to do that, but it's not as easy as people think it is. I mean, there's just way too many levels and moving parts that we can just say, okay, well, here's $300,000 because you signed, right? It'll be hard pressed for us to get back to that. I think it's some capacity.
They tried to make it less complicated back in the 2000s, and
we paid the price, right?
You know,
right.
Yeah, it's like you got a good credit. Okay, good. Here's a house.
Right. And I mean, with right now, when people ask me about what's happening in the economy and all that stuff, I mean, the fact that we're not in the 2000s and we're so strict and regulated right now, and we have to make sure that somebody has the ability to repay a debt. That's what's going to save us from having an implosion.
100%.
We're going to have some sort of correction.
Correction.
That no problem, right? It's going to, but because we are actually doing things differently, and because it's complicated, like, people don't understand, we're saving an implosion that could be potentially on the horizon, especially with how much homes and everything have appreciated recently.
Right.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic, what are your projections for the real estate market and
housing kind of in general. So I will say this is 100% my opinion, right? And just based on research and things like that I've done, that I think there's going to be about a 12 to 13% decline or correction overall, end of 2022, beginning of 2023. Just as we take a look at interest rates with them rising and with interest rates rising and so forth, what people are paying for a property now with lower interest rates, I think as we shift and the rate gets higher and the house drops 12 to 13%, they're pretty much going to be paying the same mortgage payment that they would right now. So they're just going to be paying it to a different place.
Yeah. Interesting. Because a lot of like the big wigs too are just talking about like, oh, we're good. We're,
bull. Yeah. It's going crazy.
Is that what it was like in 2008?
Oh yeah.
And people were like, oh no, it's going to be fine.
There's no problem.
Right.
There is no bubble.
You literally could go to Florida and there would be entire subdivisions that are completely nobody living in them, but houses done, right? Because but everything was fine. And so again, you get back to my previous point, we're not going to see that again. But at some capacity, when you outpace the ability for other people to buy a home or, pay rent, for goodness sakes, there's so many people that can't afford rent here, let alone buying a home, that has to equalize out. So it may not hit Southern Oregon directly.
That was
right?
going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It may not
Big
hit,
metros.
right. Big metropolitan. I mean, look at New York, got absolutely beat up during the pandemic.
Devastated.
I mean,
during
devastated.
Yeah.
Devastated. Right. But did you feel it here? No, sir. Right.
Yeah,
but a lot of other places in the United States, they felt it. So we're in this really weird environment ecosystem. We only feel pain when the Siskiyous and Sexton have snow on it. Right. That's the only time where people
true.
can't get here, right?
Yeah.
Because they can't fly in or whatever. That's the
Right.
only time we feel pain and we see a little bit of a dip. Outside of that, we're in this really weird anomaly of an area that at some point, I mean, if you take a look at 2010 and 11, our population actually declined during those years because of mass exodus. People couldn't find enough jobs, things like that. So, our population decreasing, we're going to have that in some capacity again. When it exactly happens, I don't know. But for right now, we're definitely isolated from that.
Yeah. Well, that's
No question
good.
about it.
I'm smelling this moonshine, so I got to give it a try.
Good luck.
Good luck.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll be honest with you. I've never had moonshine before.
It's not really moonshine.
I'm about 10 degrees warmer right now.
Are
Yeah.
you about to
Daniel's gonna have beads of sweat.
There is my bead of sweat. Yeah, for sure. Let's do this.
Hey, it's local, right? We're doing a local podcast
Yeah,
for local
exactly.
people. We had to do something. That was a bigger swig than I was expecting.
It's a sip.
Oh, that was all right.
Take a shot. They're big glasses. I mean, I only put a shot in there, so.
It tastes good. It's just wow.
I did mine off camera.
Good for you, Sundance. Good for you. I like it.
And they actually make some stuff that's a little bit stronger than this too. I didn't want us all.
What is that, like
just
80%?
So that's 70, and I think they do
okay.
one that's like 90.
It's 70
something.
proof. This is 35%. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not much of an alcohol drinker. I can, whew. All right, 10 degrees
funny.
is a good, yeah, a little 15 maybe.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, we like this question. We're kind of getting towards the tail end of this thing here. What do you think are some businesses in Grants Pass that kind of strike you as
Grants Pass or Southern Oregon,
yeah, southern, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Definitely. So
it's the moonshine.
we just spend a lot of our time in Grants Pass, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
Southern Oregon businesses that
right, that stand out to me. So one of the years ago, I went to this seminar that BBSI had put on. They're a local payroll company here in town.
Yeah.
And they talked about hiring new people and, things that you need to do for employees and, being, I think this was in like 2018 or something. So I was talking kind of the cutting edge of hiring millennials and things like that because that was big then. One of the people that spoke there was a gentleman from Nice Badge, and I forget his name, which is really sad. I should have looked it up.
It's Lowell Gibson.
Lowell Gibson,
Yeah.
So just the presence that he had, he was very humble, and it was really ironic because I worked for a company based out of Arizona at the time that we were using all of this stuff from a company called Nice Badge. They were based out of Arizona from here in Grants Pass. It's kind of funny. They would send it from Nice Badge to Arizona and then back to us, right? Yeah,
to use, to promote.
Right. It was kind of funny. But just the way that the gentleman carried himself and the way that he talked about his employees and everything, and it was very employee-centric, where you don't find a lot of business owners that are that way. I mean, you find some, but it's only, as much as they have to get as much as they can out of those employees, and I never got that feeling from that gentleman.
Yeah.
It was just really, and then, of course, the generic answer, as I put on my questionnaire, Dutch Brothers, like just to be able, from such humble beginnings to have the amount of market presence that Dutch Brothers has. I mean, that's amazing to me. It's
Right.
a lot of it is hard work, tenacity, and things like that. And a lot of it's luck. I'm sure if you probably talk to some of the higher ups, it's amazing as people get more successful, even me and my little microcosm of, what I've been able to do. A lot of it is hard work and luck. And so, to see somebody be able to have something come together like Dutch Brothers is pretty amazing.
It's a pretty amazing story. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the big reasons why we wanted to do this podcast in the first place is because we really do feel like Southern Oregon has some amazing businesses
Incredible.
here, like hidden businesses too, and people that just do amazing things. Like, I mean, that's literally why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Dutch Brothers is the most obvious choice
Right.
because of their, I mean, they're Dutch brothers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. They're their own entity on their own. Right.
What do you think? Like, we have great companies in this area, but like, what do you think people are missing? Business owners and companies in general, like what?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah.
Thinking big.
Thinking big.
You know, I think Travis at some point probably saw himself in his early stages, and this is all conjecture on my part, saw himself sitting on the New York Stock Exchange ringing the bell someday. Right. I would venture a guess, you know, and maybe not, but I don't think business owners here in town see the grand scale of things because we're small, we're metro, you know, we're just this little tiny town, we're all of this. And so I think if people just had a grander scale, I love going outside of the area and I love traveling and doing all that stuff to remind me how much I love Grants Pass.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the reasons that I do it, to remind me, you know, to go see the outside world, to see how big it is, but come here and see what I could do differently. And I think a lot of business owners forget to do that and forget to really engage with, you know, people from outside areas. How many times have I told you, go find your symbiotic partner in another larger metropolitan area so you can mimic and, you know, duplicate what they're doing and be the first to market here? We don't have a lot of people that are doing that, in my opinion. They don't go outside of the valley to figure out what's available.
I agree with that.
Yeah. We've talked about that plenty of times with businesses that we go to that we're just like, man, they could be doing so much better.
Yeah.
You know?
In some cases, I think there's a need that they don't want to, right? And I respect that, right? If you know where your niche is and you know that you don't want to be that individual and a slave to what you're doing, I respect that. But I think there's also a large component of it where they don't know, right? It's just the fact that they haven't seen the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're kind of getting towards the end here. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, you don't have any social media.
I do not.
No. So how would people get a hold of you other than a carrier pigeon, as you would say?
Well, I said smoke signals,
Yeah.
carrier pigeon.
Oh, so there's
donkey.
options.
Yeah, there's many. No, just you know, you can Google me, look me up online, and you'll be able to find me.
And there's this thing that is called.
Look at that status. Just Google me.
Yeah, just Google.
Just Google me.
We're going there. No, sorry.
Yeah, but there's this thing called the telephone. They could use that. And
they can. So 541-441-0803. So that's my direct line. It's pretty much always on me. So
yeah. Well, cool, Dan. I as you know, I always appreciate spending time with you. You're just super intriguing guy, super intellectual, multifaceted, not just a mortgage nerd, but you're a family man. You love the outdoors. You know, you love what you do, and you're just a rad dude. Yeah. So
thank you guys for the opportunity. Really appreciate coming on and getting to share a little bit about myself and, you know, chatting with you guys. Really appreciate it. Means a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. Enjoyed you on.
Yeah. Thanks,
guys.
Mr.
Okay,
D.
well, we're gonna sign off now, and we're gonna enjoy the rest of this moonshine.
Sounds good to me.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hometown Hustle Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. And for more information or to connect with Daniel and Michael, check out www.hometownhustlepodcast.com. We'll see you next time.
Cheers, boys.